Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Brian's father, Jerry Anselmo, Executive Director Emeritus of the BMA Foundation.
When the doorbell rang is when Mary Ellen and I found out from a policewoman that our son had passed on Mary Ellen's birthday. Now, imagine this. Imagine tonight you go home and somebody's waiting for you and one of your children is no longer there. It's hard to imagine, but it happens. And this week on Thursday, I get a phone call from a friend who tells me his son had died. And I can tell you this, I burst out in tears, he burst out in tears, and I said, I'm coming over. And he said, no, this is the quality of the man. He said, no, you've got too much to do. I'll see you on Monday. So these things happen. But what I want to share with you just briefly is everybody's vulnerable to tragedy. We all are. But what you do about it and how you handle it is the key. I was 2 months after Brian had died, and a young man took me aside and looked at me and said, I don't like this Jerry Anselmo. I want the old Jerry back. And that, my friends, resulted in this. And so, thank you. And then as time went on, other people put me on their shoulders and helped me get through it. And now tonight, do you know who's done it? You guys. You guys and the thousands that have come before me. You're doing it tonight. You're helping me. I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna laugh, I'm gonna have fun, but it's because of you. And I want to thank each and every one of you for helping me and Brian and my wife. God bless. Why have I been giving speeches for the last 16 years? Well, I lost a son. That's the worst thing that can happen to you, losing a child. Well, then the doorbell rang. And standing at the doorbell was a policewoman. And she said, do you know Brian Anselmo? And I said, of course I know Brian Anselmo. What did he do? I figured he was in a barroom fight or something like that. She said, no, he's passed. And I just stood there, and I remember hearing a scream, and my wife started coming down the steps because she had heard what she had said. And I kept hearing this scream. And then I didn't realize it, but it was me. I was screaming. That night, I think I placed one phone call, and there were about 100 people came over. And I'll never forget Father Don coming up the driveway, putting his arm around us, trying to talk to us to make us feel better. He was fantastic. Other people came, other priests came, more people came. For those 3 days prior to the funeral, I don't remember much. It was a fog. So the funeral comes, and St. Thomas More was packed, and there were people lined all the way out to the school. And I remember the one thing that day is when I came up to get behind Brian's casket to walk him down the aisle. Here were his friends lining the aisle, all in black and wearing yellow Crocs, which was his thing. He was the first to wear Crocs. He wore yellow Crocs, and they all ordered yellow Crocs. And it was just the most amazing sight to see, guys. And that helps me to the day when I remember that moment in time. It was about 2 months later, and I was in bad shape. But I wasn't paying attention to my wife, and I wasn't paying attention to my girls. I was thinking about myself, which is selfish, but I didn't know how to handle this. And that's when Jasper Mirabile comes into the picture. He calls me, he says, I want to take you to lunch. I want to talk to you. So we went to lunch, and he looked at me, and he put his hands on my shoulder, and he said, I don't like this Jerry Anselmo. He said, you're the head of the family. You got to start thinking about Mary Ellen. You got to start thinking about Julie. You got to start thinking about Lori and the rest of the people in your family. Now all of a sudden you're it. He saved me. That day, that specific time has resulted in one of the biggest and best foundations in Kansas City right now. We have given away in that short period of time over $4 million to children's charities. I believe it's the best event in town. We just finished with it. We had 800 to 900 people there dancing with the stars. I actually bring in the stars from the TV show. And that's another story, and it's in my book. That was a cold call out there.